Hello everyone and welcome to The Upset. Today we'll take a look at our Lions basketball teams and give our early reactions to conference play. Then we'll have our season preview for men's volleyball, our tennis teams, and a lot has happened in D1 since our last show, so we're giving our mid-season college basketball awards. Finally, stay tuned to watch us debate the greatest dynamic duo in college basketball history. All this and more on the season premiere of The Upset.
Pull up, got it! She got it! She got it!
Make up for it, fires to the end zone, touchdown! Alabama wins!
Step back, Walker, Cardiac, Kimba, does it again, UConn!
Right back there, hold on! Packers win! Packers win!
Hello everyone and welcome to The Upset. Today I'm joined by Johnny Menachia, Jacqueline Galvin, and making his return to the desk we have Tristan DeShanes. First on the board today is men's basketball. Let's talk about it. They are 12-7 overall, 5-3 in conference play. They beat Coast Guard, Springfield, and swept MIT in conference play, but they lost to Babson by 2 in a buzzer beater. They will have a chance to play them again at home on February 19th. They've looked pretty good. I mean, can't say much about how they've looked in conference. It's not done yet.
Right.
But Johnny, give us a little more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the highlights we watch, you can see just, all these players contributing. And I want to take, a closer look at this guy on the screen right here. And I want to be the first to give him this nickname. James Beckwith, you are the toothless Terminator, the leader in NUMAC three-point percentage. What a season. And we know, the number 3 in Emerson basketball, that number means so much to
a lot of responsibility.
all of us here at the desk, all athletes of the great Jeff Gray, who was able to wear that number. But this kid James Beckwith is definitely wearing that number with a bunch of pride. And I also want to talk about how deep this roster is. You look at Ben Allen, the freshman, Stephen Fabrizio, another freshman. We mentioned James Beckwith. Then you got the key transfer in Max Davis, who last game he hit like a step back 3 that was just crazy. I was lucky enough to call that game, and that kid can play. And then, Benny Buckets, Ben Holding, who's been around for so long and still a really good player. Just this team, they're destined to make a run. We'll see if it's their year. I sure hope it is. I think it can be. But this team is destined to make another great run, that's for sure.
And I think that the biggest reason is because of their grit. Because even though they did win the NUMAC title last year, a lot of their players didn't get that feeling because
Still
they're so young.
underappreciated.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Even this year, with the preseason rankings and all that, right? So.
Exactly. And another person I want to point out is Jared Houston. He's been having a phenomenal year, averaging about 15-ish points in the past few games. He's been absolutely insane.
Yeah, and I think that obviously when we talk about this team, you have to talk about Jack O'Connor. Jeff Gray left last year. O'Connor, obviously a huge part of the team last year. We wondered, could he step up this year? And he absolutely has. In that Springfield game, against them, he struggled early on, but late game, he took over. He picked the All-American's pocket and finished at the rack. So, Jack O'Connor, obviously the leader of this team in a big part of their success early on.
So what does this team have to do to move into the playoffs, finish conference play, move into the playoffs hot?
There's plenty that they have been doing that tells me right now they could go in the playoffs and, make that big run that we talked about. Upsetting loss, tough loss against Babson, lost at the buzzer. Second time they've lost at the buzzer this season. But, it's no loss is a good loss, but that loss, Babson is ranked in the top 25.
23, I want to say.
A really good team. They have Danny Ainge's son, Crew Ainge, playing on that team. So a D1 name, a really good team. To fight those guys, play a nice, tough game and give them everything you have. I think that game, when it comes here to Brown and Plofker, is going to be a good one. So I would say, Angel, the key to me is just continue to, have that grit, have that underdog mentality that you are still underappreciated, and I think that will take them a long way.
All right, so let's swing it over to women's basketball now. They are 11-8 overall, 2-3 in conference play. They had 3 straight conference losses, but that was preceded with 5 straight wins.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's the same story we see with this team, is that they can go on these runs where, again, their shots are falling, they look like a top-tier team, and then they can also go on a couple of games where their shots don't fall and they don't look like they're clicking. Right now, they're shooting 39.5% from the field, 30% from 3, 66% from the free throw line. So, I mean, it just has to be a little better.
Yeah, and one thing I do want to note is they did have big losses to Babson and Springfield, so kind of coming back from that, I think there was like a 30-point differential, something like that. So that's kind of tough, especially with in-conference games. But from what I've seen of them, they just need to make smarter passes. They have a huge turnover rate. I know, Tristan, you were going to bring that up.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, so everything you've mentioned there, Jacqueline, the 2 losses, Springfield, Babson, they were without 2 key starters in that Springfield game. Natalie Clydesdale and Rachel Davey were both away.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a big part of why that margin was so big. They get those 2 back, so they have a chance now to get on track with their starters back. And you mentioned the turnovers, 9th in turnovers per game in the conference at 19 per game. Like, that number has to go down for sure. Smarter decisions with the basketball, and they can play with anyone in the conference.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would just add, it's not that they have a lack of depth. It's that they need more production from their depth, which I know they can get. It's tough when you lose the freshman Kaylee Yan. She's gone for the season. Unfortunately, she tore her ACL. Just had surgery, so we wish her the best. But losing her, she was a big spark, kind of like a Derrick Rose off the bench, big spark, shifty, all that. And one game, right, they were without Clydesdale. Next game, they were without Rachel Davey and Natalie Clydesdale. And, some of the players just couldn't hit their shots. And, they couldn't win those games. But, Tristan mentioned it. Now that everybody's back together, I think they can make a run.
All right. Now let's move on to men's volleyball. So last year they finished on the 6th seed, 3-11 in conference play. Not great, but 11-14 overall. They ended up losing in the first round of the playoffs. What does this team have to do? I think this is a little more difficult of a question to answer to basketball. This team has been up and down. My freshman year, they were pretty decent. My sophomore year, they regressed a little bit, 3-11 in the conference.
Still somehow made the playoffs. So it just tells you what the new MAC is.
Exactly. I mean, it can happen. They can put it together. And what happens with this team is momentum is so key.
Yeah.
Last year, they had several 3-4 game winning streaks, and then they would follow it up with 5 losses in a row. And these aren't losses 3-1. These aren't wins by 3-2, 3-1. These are straight sets.
Yeah.
So when they get it going, they're putting teams away.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was going to bring up. So far, I mean, they're 1-2, and they've either won or lost in straight sets.
Right.
So the thing with them is going to be, contesting. Once they're down, you got to get back in there somehow. Just get a set, take a set, and then the momentum switches.
Yeah, and I think the theme kind of continues here. The key for this volleyball team is the consistency.
Yeah.
Can they consistently compete in every game?
Yeah.
And I think they bring that level of consistency up, then they definitely have a chance to make a run here.
Yeah, again, Angel mentioned it. 3-11 in conference last year, sneak into the playoffs. It's just crazy how the new MAC works sometimes, and that consistency is key because you can, finish 3-11 if you get hot at the right time. You can make a run at, at the new MAC finals. Just want to shout out friend of the program, Lucas Ragas. 53 assists so far in the 3 games that they've played.
He's looked good.
He's looked great. So shout out to him.
Yeah, and I'd definitely like to point out newcomer freshman Parker Gray having a good start to his career, 17 points on the year, so third on the team. Second on the team. So, that's great to see for them as well. A young player coming in to contribute.
All right, so now let's talk some tennis. Now, I know that we haven't been the biggest proponents of tennis, but I think it's important to identify that this sport is up and coming at Emerson College. So men's tennis are 2-1 so far. They started the season off strong. They actually play in both semesters, which is a little different from other sports. I actually had a chance to talk to senior Brock Higley just to talk about what goes into a sport that isn't really, they're not watched by many people, let's be honest, at Emerson. They're not given as much support as other sports that are given. He tells me that the practices are actually tougher to get to than the matches. So they travel 40 minutes to get to their practices. to practice at 9 p.m., end at 11 p.m., and then drive home on school days 40 minutes to get back to school.
Exactly, yeah. I was talking to Thea, who's on the women's tennis team, and they do the exact same thing. And I know it's really tough for her, especially, you know, with the workload that some students at Emerson do have. Adding that up on top of these late practices is really tough for them. So it's going to be interesting to see, you know, how they can improve this year. And
something new that's coming. Emerson men's tennis are going to be traveling during spring break to play against some new MAC competition for the first time, as now they have a full team, which they've been struggling with.
Step in the right direction.
So a step in the right direction. Who knows? This could end up being something amazing for the program.
Yeah, and I think that one of the cool things about the men's tennis team is that they only have one senior, and the rest are sophomore or freshmen.
Yeah.
So I think that that's really cool to see. It's a great step in the direction for the program. A lot of young kids coming in, so should be exciting over these next couple of years.
Yeah, and kind of switching over to women's tennis, I actually did get a chance to talk to Thea Nagel about, you know, how they could change their momentum from last season to this season, and she kind of said something along the lines of, last season, they were successful as individual players, but not really as a team.
No.
And now that they're more comfortable with one another and have relationships with each other, both on and off the court, their team dynamic is a lot better. And she said that she really looks forward to seeing that kind of in action on the court, because if they're stronger as a team, they do end up playing a lot better.
All right, well, before we take a break, we have our upset matchup of the week. This time around, we're looking at men's basketball versus Clark on February 12th. I want to hear everyone's keys to the game and then your final score predictions. We'll have Jacqueline lead us off.
Okay, well, I mean, the Toothless Terminator, if that's what we're calling him. I feel like if he's on fire with those three-pointers, I mean, he made 5 out of 6 versus MIT, 5 out of 5 versus Springfield. I really think that, you know, he can kind of get that dynamic going. Clark versus Emerson, I'm just going to point it 84-78 in Emerson's direction.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm actually going to go next because I don't want any of my numbers to be stolen. I know we have a history of doing that on this show. So they lost early January, 82-73. It was also an away game. So my thinking is this game is going to come down to the wire. In the Bobby Brown gym, the Bobby Brown and Plofker, we do not lose in games that come down to the wire. That atmosphere is too hard to play in. So I'm going to go Emerson victory, 87-82.
All right, well, you mentioned that loss, and at the time I was looking at it being like, this is a bad loss for Emerson, Clark. And I still don't think it's that great of a loss, but, you know, Clark did beat Babson. They did upset Babson, so they're sneaky good. But I think this time down in Bobby Brown and Steve Plofker, we're not seeing a close one. I'm seeing 95-75 Lions.
Wow.
Okay.
I have this game going a lot different than you think. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. They played them tight on the road, and I think it's going to be a revenge game. I think Emerson's going to get the win. I don't think they're going to put up big numbers like you guys think. I'm going 79-71 Lions win.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll give our college basketball MidSeason Awards. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to The Upset. Well, we've hit the midseason point of college basketball, which means it's time for our midseason awards. Let's start with the teams we're most impressed with at this point in the season. Johnny, let's kick it off.
Well, you guys know I'm an A10 guy. I love my URI Rams. Shout out them, having a great season. 29th right now in the AP poll. But that brings me to Dayton basketball, which have shocked, I think, everyone on the panel. I think everyone in college basketball. People knew, you know, Dayton's a powerhouse in the A10, usually in the tournament. But this year they have something special. Number 6 in the nation, currently 20-2. And we're going to get to mid-season MVP awards. But Obi Toppin, my goodness, he can play. And
we're not there yet. We're not there.
But you know, Dayton has impressed me so much. Most efficient offense in all of college basketball, and you know that says something to their coaching staff and you know their players.
Tristan?
Yeah, and I think Dayton, I've got to agree with you there. But
they're right there for most surprising.
They're right there for sure. 2 losses, only both in overtime. 1 to Kansas in a preseason tournament.
Exactly.
I mean, that's a pretty good one. But you got to talk about San Diego State.
Yeah.
I mean, they're 23-0. They're number 4 in the nation right now. No one saw this coming, and I know they haven't played a top 25 team yet.
Well, their conference, their conference.
But they're not in a great conference, so like it's like Gonzaga. So
23 games is 23 games, though.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's
23
thing,
wins,
you know?
no losses. That's enough for you. They're led by their guy, Malachi Flynn. He leads the team with 60.5 points per game, 5 assists per game. So he's a dynamic part of that team.
Just to add real quick, I think a lot of people are wondering, is this team for real? It got that kind of Wichita State vibe of, is this team really that good? But I do think they're that good. I really do.
All right, Jacqueline?
Well, we all know I love my Auburn.
You do.
Here we go.
And so, Auburn is 19-2 this season. I really don't think that many people thought that they would make it back to, their Final Four finishes last year. So, this is their best start to the season in more than 21 years. I believe they went, 16, 17-0, and they dropped 2. But last year, they lost their top 3 scorers. They had a big loss to Bama and Florida, but they did beat Kentucky, even though Kentucky is outside the top 10 right now. But still, it's still a testament to their program, to their coach, for, losing their top 3 scorers and still, being one of the top-ranked teams.
Well, Tristan, you essentially stole everything that I was going to say for my surprising team. But let's talk about surprising in a bad way. I will start off here, since just in case you guys steal that. It's more personal for me. I know I'm quoted on this show saying Duke was going to be amazing. They've been okay. They've been okay. They haven't faced great competition. They're 18-3. I really, really, really believed Cassius Stanley was going to be the next coming of Zion. I was wrong. I was wrong. He has not been
the
great.
next coming of Zion?
Well, the thing is like
But
when
there
you
is no
watch his
other
high school
Zion.
tapes, he looks ridiculous. He was shooting 80% from the field to start the season, and all of a sudden he just dropped off. Anyways, we're also waiting for Trey Jones to figure it out. He hasn't figured it out yet. He's only a sophomore.
We talked about that
We did
last
talk
year
about
during the
it. We
tournament,
did talk about
and
it. So,
he continues to
I mean,
struggle.
I hope it's going to come around.
Yeah.
I got to stick with my Blue Devils, but
What killed Duke last year in the tournament? Shooting. Trey Jones can't shoot. Cassius Stanley can't really shoot.
we're not going to get into it. 'Cause
Again, this
okay.
team lacks shooting. That's the thing about it.
We're
Yeah,
not gonna
well,
really get into
I
that.
mean, for me at least, the most disappointing, I think it's University of North Carolina.
Yeah.
They have
They've been
just
garbage.
They plummeted.
Been awful.
I never expected it. Preseason number 9, and here's the thing: watch them early on in the season with Cole Anthony, their big recruit. Cole Anthony, I think, is a really, really good player. But if you looked at the team around them, you could tell early on he was saving them
Every single game.
single
Literally
possession.
every game,
He
yeah.
was doing everything. So then he goes down with an injury, misses a significant amount of time, and this team just falls off the charts. And they just lost to Boston College, and that was with the return of Cole Anthony.
You know who he reminds me of? Colin Sexton, when he was playing college basketball. It was literally him and just a bunch of nobodies. And unfortunately, it's sad to say for a team that big, but it is what it is.
It's just rare to see from Roy Williams and the Tar Heels.
It happens a lot, though. Again, you mentioned Colin Sexton, Ben Simmons we could go to again. I do think that Cole Anthony has a chance to be a good pro. We'll have to see. For me, and I know this is going to sound homer biased, but
Again,
Here we go.
again,
I'm serious.
Oh my God.
Big East threat, Providence College was ranked in the, right around the top 25 in just every poll.
Yeah.
And they have had some awful losses. They've had some great wins. And, I love Coach Cooley. I absolutely love him. I think he's a great coach. We can all agree on that. But this has not been his year. It has not been, Providence's year. And they're getting, outshadowed by a URI team that was not supposed to be this good. And so that's my Rhode Island basketball for all you Rhode Island viewers.
Of course.
All right, so let's talk MVP then. Johnny, since you already gave yours away, you can elaborate. Kick it off.
Obi Toppin, for sure, Obi Toppin. Again,
Great pick.
this team was not supposed to be this good. They have been this good. And he's their leading scorer, great rebounder. He can do really anything you need him to do. Unselfish player, good rebounder. And, we don't stress this enough, but they're the most efficient offense in all of college basketball. That's crazy to think that a Dayton team who has played, they played Kansas. They play good teams.
Lost from an OT,
right?
And Obi was fantastic in that game.
And it's good competition, and you have to look at this guy as depending on how far they make it, can they win the A10 tournament? Can they go far in the actual tournament, which I think they can? You got to look at Obi Toppin for top player of the year.
Yeah, that team's certainly dangerous. For me, Kansas, Hold on, give me a second. Udoka Azubuike.
It's a great pick, though.
It's a good name. He doesn't blow you off the charts. 12.5 points per game, 9.5 rebounds, but 2.5 blocks per game. And I'm going to tell you, when this guy stays out of foul trouble, he's one of the best players in the country. He basically shuts down the paint, and he is such a physical beast down there. He's almost impossible to guard in college basketball just because of his sheer size. But the problem is that size gets him into trouble sometimes with foul trouble. But for Kansas, in order for them to be successful and have a chance at this national championship, it's Azubuike.
All right, Jacqueline?
For me, I think we have the same one, Vernon Carey Jr. from Duke.
Yep.
He's kind of a bright spot in an otherwise underwhelming Duke team for this season. He's averaging just about 18 points a game while shooting about 60% from the floor, 45% from his three.
9 rebounds as well?
Yeah, exactly. So, I feel like he's kind of slowly becoming the top choice for MVP this season.
Let me just talk a little bit about Coach K. It's been underwhelming. You said it. It's been a little bit underwhelming.
I think you guys are being a little bit harsh.
No, it has. It has. It's been underwhelming.
They're in what?
Yeah, but they haven't faced
seventh.
anyone.
But when you think of
they
Duke,
play in
you
the
think of
ACC.
basketball.
But let me get to my point here. What Coach K has done with this freshman, Vernon Carey Jr., we haven't seen anything like this since, I'm going to say it, Elton Brand. Elton Brand was electric. And you laugh.
I'm just
he
confused.
averaged 20 points and 12
waiting.
rebounds on his career in the NBA. He played for 15 seasons. So we haven't seen anything like this. The kid's a freshman. He's putting up 18 and 9. I mean, he's not a big name, but I'm telling you, Vernon Carey Jr., okay, you can doubt it. Like I said.
No, keep going. I'm just waiting.
No, I would just add, again, I'm on Tristan's side. You act like the sky is falling in Duke basketball. They've been
the entire reason they are 18-3, which honestly isn't a great record for them, is because of this guy.
What?
They haven't played anyone in conference.
No, stop. Who have
they played in conference?
They're in the ACC. I don't like Duke basketball, so I don't watch.
Okay, so you have no
much
point here. Okay.
No.
Anyways,
stop. This is for college basketball viewers, watchers. This is the best college basketball season you're going to see in the last 10 years because there's so much parity. And to say that Duke has underachieved with just 3 losses.
They have.
How?
They just okay. We're not.
They've lost 3 games. They play the ACC.
We're running out of time for this subject. We're not going to get into it. All right. So championship favorite.
Not every year they
Championship
get Zion.
favorite.
War Eagle. Who? War Eagle.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay.
No, Auburn has a legitimate chance. They do.
I will say the SEC's gotten a lot stronger over the last couple of years. SEC.
Okay. Tristan.
For me, it's going to be Kansas. In a year where things are crazy, anything can happen, I think Kansas is the most consistent.
Okay.
About a month back, I picked Louisville. They're still right in the mix as one of the best teams. I still think Louisville has a chance, so I'll stick with them. But I also think I could see URI running it all.
That's even worse than mine.
My pick is going to be Duke. I picked them back in last season. Now, let me explain. Let me explain. They underachieved to this point. But I'm not saying that Coach K can't turn this around, because Coach K has had a history of being the best coach in the country.
It makes sense that they could, have a win because, they've only lost 3 games.
I'm not saying it's the end of the world, but I'm saying they
underachieved.
They underachieved. They underachieved. And I'm a Duke fan. I'm a Blue Devil. They underachieved. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we debate the greatest dynamic duo in college basketball history. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to The Upset. It is finally time for the new season of our debate competition. Tim O'Sullivan, who couldn't be here today, took home the belt last year, but it's anyone's game this season. Tristan, this is your first debate since the championship 2 seasons ago. Can we take a look at what happened to Tristan?
Oh my gosh.
We can.
Jump! Oh! Oh! Hey! Hey!
Yeah, that's a
Here's the
tough
thing.
look.
I
Tough
put
look.
myself in the finals. I came into a tough situation, so I'm still proud of the way it ended.
Okay, that's tough. Anyway, here's a quick review of the rules. Each debater will have 45 seconds to make an opening statement. Following that, we will have 4 minutes of open debate before a 30-second closing statement from each contestant. Then I will make my decision and announce a winner. Today we're going to be debating the greatest 1-2 punch in college basketball history. Johnny, you got it. 45 seconds.
Angel, do you remember what you just said? You are a what?
Blue Devil.
You're a Blue Devil.
Yeah.
I knew that. I came with probably the most notable names to ever put on the jersey.
Oh my God.
Bobby Hurley and Christian Laettner.
Oh boy.
That's a good one.
I hate Duke. I hate Christian Laettner. I do. I hate them both. But there is no denying that this duo of point guard and forward is the greatest to ever step on the court, and especially wear a Blue Devil uniform, because we know how profound of a program Duke is, and these guys are, what people think about Duke and, why we hate Duke.
Okay. Pretty good.
All right.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
Tristan?
I mean, I'm a Blue Devil too. I'm a big fan. Grayson Allen, my guy. But here's the thing. Here's my dynamic duo. We got to go over to the women's side here. Maya Moore, Tina Charles. I mean, these are two of the top 5 players in UConn history, and that's quite a program. And we may be even talking about 2 of the top 5 players in women's college basketball history on the same team we're talking about here. 2 national championships, both of those national championships undefeated. I got a lot more to talk about these 2 for sure.
All right. Jacqueline?
Alrighty, well, you know the old adage, offense wins games, defense wins championships. We've seen this many times during the past few years. But what if I told you this happens in basketball too? The 2011-2012 Kentucky Wildcats, led by the best defensive duo in recent history, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist and Anthony Davis. They set the tone for their team. They're my dynamic duo.
All right. So 4 minutes of open debate. This is going to be tough. Let's do it.
Well, here's where I want to start. I want to start with Maya Moore. She's arguably the best player in women's college basketball history. 4-time AP All-American, 2-time Naismith College Player of the Year, 2-time John Wooden Award winner of the year, 2-time AP College Player of the Year. The list goes on and on. She scored 3,036 points over her career. She's 10th all-time in NCAA Division I scoring. The numbers keep adding up. You look at her, she can do it all. 2nd all-time in rebounds.
She also
UConn
played
history.
for the greatest program ever, so her team is significantly
just a question.
so good.
Can I get to Tina, please?
Just something for you guys to see here. There's a difference in having one player that is incredibly good and then
Right.
having someone who's just riding along, or both of
If
them that
you
are on the
think-
same
if
level.
you
Not saying that
think
they are.
Tina Charles
Not
is
saying that
riding
they
along,
are.
you're out of your damn
Not saying that
mind.
they are. Not saying that they are.
Couldn't you throw
I'm
another
just
player
saying.
into that dynamic duo?
No, because these were the top 2 teams on the 2 of the best teams in women's college basketball
Yeah, but
history.
they-
Tina Charles, a 3-time
They
All-American,
had
also John
5
Wooden
of
Award
probably the
winner.
best 25 players in the whole
Why does
country.
that matter?
Because
They're 2, regardless, they're still 2 of the best players in women's college basketball history, regardless of
right,
if
but
they're on
when we
UConn.
talk about a dynamic
Bobby
duo,
Hurley.
you think of 2 players and 2 players only.
Correct.
This player and this player.
Yeah,
and
that's what you think of.
Bobby Hurley and Christian Laettner played on a team that really wasn't that good. But because they were on a team together, Bobby Hurley, maybe the greatest point guard to ever play in men's basketball history,
College basketball.
Right, college basketball history, leads the NCAA in all-time assists. Christian Laettner, probably the most notable name to come through college basketball. There's a 30 for 30 just on him
Yeah,
because of how
people hated him.
Well, there's a reason they hated him.
There's a reason they hated him, because he was good. He's a winner. He won twice,
30 for
as
30
many as
as
your
being your
duo
top
won.
player.
So the numbers stack up.
Jacqueline?
Well, I mean, for my duo, mostly on the defensive side. I mean, they were both great on their offensive statistics. I mean, Anthony Davis is obviously 14.2 points per game.
They also spent 1 year together.
Yeah, because it's the one and done, type of situation.
Oh,
that
but
we
this
have
is
going on
interesting,
now.
though.
Because even though both of your duos have won multiple championships, mine won together in 1 year, and then they went on to bigger and better things.
Okay,
See,
true.
2 is
But
greater than
here's-
1. That's
here's
all
the
I got.
thing.
Yes,
on
but
that
also,
one.
I mean, it's a different, it's a different situation here because
Here's why I'm
This is
talking
what I-
about Maya Moore and Tina Charles. These are 2 potentially of the top 5 players in the sport ever. And they were on the same team.
I think you could
I mean,
argue-
they're all over the UConn record books. And you talk about the program, the great players to come through there. Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, right? I mean, they're right up there in the debate with them.
But again, that team was so good. So yes, they were the two stars on that team, but you could pick out other stars on that team too.
So question. So the question.
I mean, that's what you said.
Charles Maya Moore, they're the two best players.
Isn't that what you said?
His argument here is basically the Warriors' argument.
I got
which
you.
is Steph Curry and Klay Thompson along with Kevin Durant and Draymond Green. Is Steph Curry and Klay Thompson the greatest duo?
But-
well, they had Kevin Durant and Draymond
But
Green.
do you
Exactly.
diminish Michael Jordan's greatness because he had Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman? I mean,
But Rodman wasn't anything.
Right.
okay.
That was that. But anyways.
My argument is you had the greatest point guard maybe ever to play college basketball in Bobby Hurley, also a great coach, and literally the most dynamically hated and loved by people like you, John Newton, athlete. They won back-to-back championships. The only team to do that, besides UCLA, and more recently, I'm trying to forget, but there was another team that did it more recently. Leitner, again, in 1992, won every National Player of the Year award.
So my question for you guys is this, and this is mainly for Jacqueline here. She's right. Her team or her dynamic duo won in the 1 year that they were together.
Right.
So what means more? Are we talking about the level of play that they were at when they were together? So they only played for one season, but they played
I
at a
think
high
it's the
level.
legacy.
Or
I
the
would go legacy.
Because then you can argue,
'Cause
well,
we have
Dwayne
three-
Wade and Shaq or Kobe and Shaq, because Kobe and Shaq were there for
here's
longer.
the thing that I have about the Anthony Davis and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist thing. I think that both one season they were both really good. I think Gilchrist, didn't he go 2 after Anthony Davis?
Yeah. Yep.
So they both had great seasons, but I don't think anyone regards Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, maybe Anthony Davis, as one of the best college basketball players in men's basketball history.
I mean, in the past decade, they're probably the best defensive duo. And that's kind of my argument here, is that even though Anthony Davis in the championship game against Kansas, he had an awful shooting game, but he was instrumental in stopping Kansas center Jeff Withey.
And I argued this in the last show that I was in with Anthony Davis,
one.
and that kind of doomed me a little bit.
Okay. Well, that's a good callback. All right, so closing arguments here. Jacqueline, we'll start with you.
All right, well, I'm just kind of going to repeat my phrase. Offense wins games, defense wins championships. Even though they only played together in 1 year, they did win the year that they played together, and they were the two main reasons why this team actually won the national championship this year. Kidd-Gilchrist was insane. He guarded all 5 positions. He led the press. His three-point shot was insane. He had a huge mid-range jumper. He was one of the most versatile defenders in the country, paired with Anthony Davis, who he was an elite rim protector. So that duo would have been insane to play against, and I think that they should be respected.
Okay. Tristan?
Yeah, well, for me, again, I'm 2 of the top 5 players potentially in women's college basketball history on the same team at the same time. 2 undefeated national championships. Maya Moore is a 4-time All-American. Tina Charles, a 3-time All-American. These guys, they have multiple National Player of the Year awards under their belts, and they were on the same team. So I think that you just have to take that into account. They're all over the record books in UConn, which is a fantastic program, and I think that just says enough.
Okay. Johnny?
1 year together, 3 years together, a great team together.
You are unbearable.
A decent team, not anything great.
You're unbearable.
3 title games, made it to 3 consecutive NCAA championships, were able to win 2 back-to-back, one of only 3 programs to ever do that. And again, Christian Laettner, the most winningest Duke player, and who comes right behind him? Bobby Hurley.
Okay. All right. So this one is tough. This one is tough because I'm wondering who else was on that Duke team. Do you have that for me?
I do.
Okay.
You want to know?
Yes.
So 1 year, the first year they won it, they had a freshman, Grant Hill. And
Oh
then,
my God! The greatest player in Duke history.
No.
Oh hell no! No,
my
Tristan,
God.
you got it. You got it. You cannot tell me that they had nobody, and then Grant Hill was on the team.
Well,
the
first of all-
greatest player in Duke
No,
basketball
time out.
history.
First of all, he was a freshman. Second of all,
He was one of-
if you're a Duke fan, how would you not know? He's not even a Duke fan.
Oh, don't change it on me now.
I'm
Don't change it
serious.
on me.
Do you know who threw the pass to
Okay,
Christian
Tristan.
Laettner's buzzer beater?
Yeah.
You don't. He's not even a Duke fan.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. I want to thank you all for joining us. On behalf of Jacqueline Galvin, Tristan DeShanes, and Johnny Menachia, I'm Angel Salcido. Have a great night.
Feels good, man. Feels good.